At the Cholas View United Methodist Church in San Diego, California, wedding guests gather for a marriage service to be conducted by the Reverend John Hose, pastor of the metropolitan community, assisted by the Reverend Howard Williams. Reception immediately following at 4550 Nebo Drive, La Mesa. A serving Chief Petty Officer at the San Diego United States Naval Air Station, Edward S. Brendan, is about to marry a hotel receptionist, Joseph L. Brown.
Dearly beloved, we have come together in this house of the Lord to bear witness to the blessing of the union of Ed and Joe, who present themselves before God in this company. No person should leave this sanctuary without doing that for which he came, praying his best that God's blessing may truly rest upon Ed and Joe all the days of their life together. As you pray, so may you also receive a blessing. Let us pray.
Almighty God, Father of us all, look with love and favor now upon these thy special children, who bring thee first their love and adoration, who bring each other this same love and devotion. Bestow thy blessing upon them as they kneel before thee, that from this day hence they no longer walk alone, but together with each other, and together with thee as their constant companion. Amen.
Ed, what token do you bring to present unto Joe that all may know your union has been blessed?
This ring.
Joe, this ring is a circlet, signifying the surrounding love of God and Ed, who presents it now to you. Do you accept this token to be worn in the presence of all men to signify the ongoing nature of your union?
I do.
Place it on his finger and repeat after me. With this ring, I encircle you, with my love, and present it, as a token, that from this day forward, we shall be as one. Joe, what token do you bring to present unto Ed that all may know your union has been blessed?
This ring.
Ed, this ring is a circlet, signifying the surrounding love of God and Joe, who presents it now to you. Do you accept this token to be worn in the presence of all men to signify the ongoing nature of your union?
I do.
Repeat after me. With this ring, I encircle you, with my love, and present it, as a token, that from this day forward, we shall be as one. Inasmuch as these two friends have here presented themselves, have exchanged vows, have exchanged tokens, have confessed and been cleansed by his precious body and blood, as one set aside in the ordained service of the Lord, I do here publicly declare that they are one, blessed by the eternal God. What has been sanctified by God, let no man put asunder. As your union has been blessed of God, so may your days continue to manifest your blessed condition to all who look upon you. Amen.
Gay libs come out of the closet, as they say here, handing America its largest undiscussed social problem. Setting aside much of their tragicomic narcissism, their old self-hatreds, homosexuals began to fight back in 1968 with newsworthy parades of swishy transvestites and lavender panthers, forcing themselves into a closed or hostile public mind. More constructively, they created gay community centers across the country.
It's not a matter of am I a gay or am I a non-gay, am I straight? It's a matter of who am I and what do I think.
My name's Abby.
Abby, I'm Denise.
How do?
How do you do?
Got news.
Male and female homosexuals gather at these centres to reinforce fragile relationships, to rap, as they say, to receive legal advice or medical attention, but mainly just to feel less apart.
You know, I really think that Janice is a woman's woman.
Today, the old homosexuality is a mental illness viewpoint is giving way to homosexuality is a lifestyle. Not a sickness, say gays, but a preference. For their relation to their own sex fulfills many needs, only one of which is physical. Here in California, they've also formed the Metropolitan Community Church, the fastest growing religious group in America, with branches in 34 cities. This trend, this lessening of fear, enables them to hold an evening church picnic on the beach at Malibu, where solid middle-class men and women risk reputation, livelihood, family and friends to come out, to be seen to declare their homosexuality publicly.
Coming for to carry me on home.
Though estimates of the number of homosexuals in the United States vary from 10 to 30 million, they're still the only minority you can get away with hating in public. For there's no doubt the homosexual does make the heterosexual uneasy, particularly if he's at all sexually insecure. Even so, the sub-world of the gay can usually be accepted today, theoretically, if not personally, though many straights still call it an unspeakable crime against nature. It's not illegal to be homosexual in America, of course, though in all but 5 of the 50 states, unnatural acts are punishable, and lewd and lascivious conduct can cover any behaviour from hand-holding on. But the old loneliness of the outcast is going, swept away by the new excitement and defiance of gay power.
First, I wonder how many people we have here this afternoon for, this is really an MCC service on the beach for the first time. Would you stand up and let us meet you right now? If it's your first time here, let's give them a great big hand. All righty, great. That's what it's all about. Turn around and shake hands with somebody and say hello right now and God bless you. Get acquainted right now, all around you, amen. All right, I didn't say carry on. I said to shake hands out there, all right?
Someone's crying, my Lord, kumbaya. Someone's crying, my Lord, kumbaya.
Living happily ever after in Montecito Heights, Los Angeles, a couple married in church 2 years ago and now in business together laying carpets. Bob Quinn and Terry Luton rode with a motorcycle gang until one day there came the proposal.
We discussed it and we decided that if we were still happy within a year and then if we still wanted to do it, that we would go ahead and get married. And as it turned out, this was the situation. So we approached Reverend Perry and arranged the wedding, and we gave out over 300 invitations to our wedding. And
you didn't have to wear white?
No.
No
but
way.
we did, as a matter of fact, and a friend of ours made us Western shirts, and we wore white pants and motorcycle boots. We come from the motorcycle crowd. That's where I was
Just before the church, we were in the motorcycle group, and then went in.
I was a president and Quinn was a road captain. When we first went to church, we rode our bike and we were wearing our leather jackets
Shook 'em
and
up.
Levi's,
Shook 'em
and
up. They weren't ready.
But
And
people
why
do.
did you feel the need to go through a wedding ceremony? I mean, was it a sort of a let's pretend ceremony? Was it was it like a game?
I might turn and ask you the same question. If you're married, why do you feel the need? Why does a straight person feel the need to go through a wedding ceremony? Of course, it is to legalize your children. I understand that. But that's not really the reason most people get married. Most people get married because they love one another. And we got married because we love one another. And we wanted to stand up before our friends and especially before God and declare our vows to each other.
You didn't have wedding rings, but you have in fact both got rings now. What does that represent?
Well, when we decided to get married, we had rings that he had a ring for years before he met me, and then he had bought me a ring right after our first or second year, I can't remember. So we just used the rings we had. Really, we couldn't afford rings. Rings, of course, are just, again, as it is in the heterosexual life, it's a symbol of your relationship with one another.
But do you still have love affairs outside your marriage?
Well, no, we don't. We don't have any restrictions on it. Now, when we first got together, we decided that if he wanted to go out with somebody, it was all right. And if I wanted to go out with somebody, it was all right. That we wouldn't embarrass one another with this situation. If I found out he was going out with somebody and I would react like most straight men would if they found out their wife was going out with somebody, all of a sudden the relationship is completely over with. You know, it's all over. How in the world can you live with somebody for 10 years, find out that they've had sex with somebody else for once, and all of a sudden you don't love them anymore? Now that's ridiculous. And if you base your relationship in that attitude, and you allow yourself to demand, let society demand that this is what you're supposed to do, then it's unfortunate for you. I won't let that happen to us. I love him too much.
You see, homosexual relationships are notoriously unstable, normally.
Well,
are they not?
Well, now, I think that it's notoriously unstable because it's like homosexuals are sick. Psychiatrists used to say homosexuals are sick. Well, the only reason they said homosexuals are sick because the only homosexuals they saw were sick ones. That would be the same way with heterosexuals. And
aren't gay people more promiscuous in general? And we can only generalize.
Well, I don't think they have the hang-ups of sex that straight people have.
Has your life been changed at all by your marriage?
Oh, I would say definitely it's been changed to. When I met Quinn, I was out at the bars every night, and
He had a motorcycle.
I owned a motorcycle, and I didn't have a stitch of furniture, and I could care less about that type of thing. But
now you're a respectable old married couple, is that it?
I believe so, yes.
Do you quarrel a lot?
Only when I don't get my way.
No, I think that I've been very fortunate in the fact that...
Who does most of the housework?
Both of us.
Both of us.
Both of us.
I-
It's something
I
I
like
won't do by myself.
I like to cook, so I do most of the cooking. But we share everything. We don't have role playing in our. Neither one of us are women, and we're quite aware of that. And we don't try to regulate our lives in that manner.
Now, what about your relationship to the outside world? Do you run into disapproval or even hostility?
We don't too much because, well, obviously, if somebody gets too funny with me, I'm going to bust them one in the mouth. That's
because you're not very effeminate.
That's right. About 15% of the gay population is made up of effeminate men or obvious women. Now, the rest of them are, we're the invisible minority. We don't have to be gay in public if we don't want to. Now, I was in the service with one of the nelliest men I've ever seen in my life, and he had 15 kids, and he was disgustingly straight.
15, really 15?
Very heterosexual. No, I think he had either 12 or 15 kids. He really did. Not that makes you straight or gay, but he really was straight, But people used to put him down because he was effeminate. Well, just because he's effeminate, so what? That's just the way he is. You should never judge people that way.
You're quite a religious man. But for example, the Presbyterian Church here, I notice, regards homosexuality as a sin.
They quote one of the disciples as, Peter was very down on homosexuality. Well, now Peter may have been a closet case. We don't know.
Now, wait a minute. You'll have to define a closet case for me.
All right, a closet case is a person that is admittedly a homosexual to themselves, but does not want to come out into the open and say so. Most people that react very heatedly, most men, they are women for that matter, that react very heatedly to homosexuality are latent homosexuals. And they're fighting it so bad, and that's why they're so against it. And I feel, personally, that it's very possible that this man could have been a latent homosexual, and that's why he was so down on homosexuality.
Another religious man, though not at all latent, is the Bishop Abbot of the Community of the Love of Christ, the Most Reverend Michael Itkin, coordinator of the Radical Gay Christian Fellowship. There seem to be a lot of clergymen, or at least people who are calling themselves clergymen, among the gays.
Well, both psychologically and anthropologically, in all religions, a very, very large part of the priesthood or ministry has been gay. The usual Freudian nonsense about ritual being more attractive to gays, I don't think really has that much relevance to it. I think there's a certain...
Celibacy?
Good Lord, no. I hope not. Except for the Roman Church, nobody really bothers with that, and they seem to be having their problems with it at the moment.
How many gay wedding ceremonies have you conducted in all, then?
Oh, I'd say about 200 or 300 over the years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And what
At one time, I was about the only minister in the country who would. Well, about the only openly gay minister who would. There were a couple of closet ministers in more traditional churches who were willing to.
The legality of such marriages, of course, has never been tested.
Not fully, no. A few of them on the East Coast have filed joint tax returns and they've been accepted. The first one that I did was still together, and that's since 54, 55, somewhere around there.
It's a hunger for some sort of stability and respectability, presumably.
But in many cases, it's not a hunger for respectability. I'm, for what it's worth, married to two people, neither one of whom live with me at the moment, one of whom is at the moment in Taiwan, the other one of whom is in Austin. Relationships aren't a closed one.
You're a bigamist, Bishop.
Polygamous. There's no scriptural grounds for monogamy, by the way.
Would you agree that the view of a majority of people would be that intimate physical contact between members of the same sex is unnatural?
The view of the majority of people seems to be that intimate physical contact between anybody, unless it's for procreation, is immoral.
I'm thinking of passing relationships quickly entered into and quickly forgotten. They would seem to be more common amongst the gay community than amongst straights.
I don't know if one ever really forgets even the quickest one-night stand or trick in an orgy room. I think that there can be a genuine feeling, a genuine love, even in that sporadic gay circumstance, and love is a gut-level and spiritual thing that doesn't require even knowing the other person's name, which after all is simply something that the man has given us anyway.
Of course, older and more established churches might take another view, Reverend.
That's their problem.
Downtown LA and the Wilshire Boulevard Gay Center in a couple of tumble-down houses. This evening, a lesbian rap. The spokesperson of this group is Lillian Fifield. When did you come out?
I've known I was gay since I was 14.
In that time, how do you find that public reaction to you has changed?
Oh, drastically. Drastically.
How?
Well, I've lost a job one time in my life because it was suspected that I was a lesbian. Nothing to do with my work. I was thrown out of an apartment at one time, a week before my mother came to visit. We have laws on our side now. Someone has to give me a little better reason for throwing me out of an apartment than simply the fact that I don't entertain men. And I surely could do that. You know, I could throw some really fine parties, and then they'd have good cause to throw me out.
See, many people regard the gay way of life with a great deal of distaste or even loathing. Their argument would be that it's unnatural.
Well, we don't believe that, though. And we're rather convinced that if they tried it, they'd like it. See, most of us have tried heterosexual sex. You know, we've made a choice.
I'm talking from a different position than most of the people down here because I'm married and I've been married for a long time and I have a family.
Really?
And
But are you gay?
Yes, I think I am now.
You think?
Now, yes, 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 but I never came to terms with it before.
How does your husband react to that?
Oh, beautifully. My husband's a far-out person.
But is he gay?
No.
Doesn't he feel he's losing you?
Not at all. He's not. I spend as much time. I'm very careful with my time.
Yes.
He gets equal time.
Equal time. Now, would you be pleased if your children turned out to be gay?
I want my children to be whatever they need to be. I don't see anything wrong with gayness. It's no threat to me. And whatever makes them happy is what I want them to be. No, I think there is one thing that would bother me about my kids growing up, but it has nothing to do with gayness. If they turned into some sort of religious fanatic, that would bother me.
Would you go through a gay wedding ceremony if you wanted to try and set some sort of seal of permanency upon a relationship?
I don't think so. I lived with a woman for 7 years, and I didn't find a need to have a piece of paper to make us closer together. You know, I just don't find that need personally.
You're not together today?
No, we're not.
Because this is a place of impermanent marriages of any type, isn't it, California?
Would you like to know why we're not? Oppression. She absolutely could not deal with her gayness. And we lived together for 7 years as two nuns. We couldn't have straight friends because she was afraid they'd find out that we were gay. And we couldn't associate with gay people because she couldn't make that identification herself.
I've been married to a man, and I find...
That old-fashioned thing.
Well, it's not really old-fashioned, it's just not for me.
So if you have a relationship that is meaningful, does it make any difference whether you call it marriage or not?
No, it doesn't, except that I don't personally buy a lot of the terminology that our society, which is a heterosexual society, has given us.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
It doesn't have the meaning for me that it has for some other people. If anyone else wants it, they're welcome to it.
Yeah, because we feel like we're lovers, we're partners, we plan to stay together for life, yes. Right. And we go to school together, we plan on going to medical school, and we do these things together. I'm an anesthetist, I'm a registered nurse, and I find, I don't know, a meaningful relationship is if I were married, but I don't have a certificate.
How long have you been together?
Nearly 3 years. Nearly 3 years.
And you're going to stay together for the rest of your life?
I hope so, yeah.
But that's what everybody says, isn't
We're very happy so far.
Let's say that we like to live day by day.
Yes.
We look upon, if it works out. In other words, for me, marriage or commitment has to be something that you have to do every day. You can't commit yourself and say for life and then never work at it. You have to wake up every morning and say, okay, here is this woman, and I have to commit myself again today.
How did you two find each other?
We met in school, in a math class. In, what was it? Calculus, I believe, yes.
You look jolly well suited to me.
We look what?
Very well suited.
Oh, I think so too.
Why do you say that? That sounds to me like a very sexist oriented question. I'm curious as to why you say any two individuals appear physically or in some way to be suited to each other.
No, I think they're mentally suited. They're both amiable. They both have senses of humor. They both have nice, honest eyes.
Oh, but so do I, and maybe we're not suited, either one of those women and myself.
No,
I was just curious as to why you asked that.
I don't see you as one of their partners. Perhaps you two.
Is this because the two of these women have short hair and the two of us are more feminine and have longer hair?
No, not at all. I think it's their outgoing attitude of those two, if you don't mind me saying.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. It appeared to me that you were saying it from a point of view of looking, of observation, and I was curious as to why.
No, I'm saying it from a point of view of perception and knowledge of human beings.
Yes, which is something that we could all claim, and hopefully we're all correct in it.
Yes. Luckily, I'm infallible.
That's marvelous. That makes only 3 of us.
At the Los Angeles Gay Center, first impressions are usually wrong.
How long did you live as a man before you went across?
Well,
dislike the term man because I don't consider myself ever being as such. I would say I lived as a male for 31 years.
And how many years did you live as a male, Anne?
32.
32. Ginger?
Till I was 19.
You're going to have operations?
Yes. I hope to have it soon, in the next couple of months or so.
There seems to be some sort of basic need for people like yourselves to have the operation. Even if it's not going to affect your lifestyle, you feel that you must have it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Very definitely.
Because, you know, like, I feel the way she did, you know, if I thought that I would never be able to have it, you know, you get to the point where you don't care about living anymore.
And you've had surgery?
Yes, I have.
What did you have?
I had a sex reassignment surgery, and as a result of an accident, I had 4 additional surgeries. And after that, 2 operations for cosmetic surgery.
What did they do?
They gave me a nose job, as they call it, the rhinoplasty.
Yes.
And they shaved my Adam's apple, and they gave me breast implants. This was about 3 months ago. I had a breast implant operation.
You are now a woman, so you're not a gay male. You've got nothing in common with lesbians.
No.
I mean, less than I have, as it were.
No.
So you're not really gays, are you?
No, we don't consider ourselves as gay. We consider ourselves to be transsexuals.
How do you find that you've been treated by the public in general and men in particular?
Men? Well, okay. I don't have trouble with many men, you know. And I don't have that much trouble with, you know, with women if they know. Well, I was beat up once because I was dating this guy who was straight, and after about 2 or 3 months, he got a little aggressive, and he found out, because I wasn't dating him full time, and he decided he'd get brave, and he found out, and he didn't appreciate it too much.
I found it just the opposite. I think most women, the reaction I'm getting is more of a curious, you know, oh, really? You know, tell me about it. It's more like, let me hear about your surgery, you know. And most men, I think that heterosexual men, if they've decided that they're attracted to me and they haven't gone so far as to blatantly show it in public, or if they're just interested in me in a very gentlemanly fashion and they take me out a few times, and if there has been no physical contact, such as if I haven't permitted any necking or like that, and I tell them, they respect me for it, and on several occasions have even gone further out of curiosity. And most men, if they have already made some kind of an advancement in public where everybody knows that they have put their hands on me or made love to me or something like that, then if I surprise them with it, there would be hostile reactions to the point of brutality.
In the beginning, after the surgery, I felt that I was masquerading. And up to the time of the surgery, they used to look at me kind of strange when I was a man, because I really didn't look like other men. I began to look rather different. And
what job were you doing when you were looking different?
What kind of work was I doing? For 8 years, I drove a taxi in L.A.
How is your life going to carry on now? Are you looking to get married?
Yes, I would like to retrain for a job which would be suitable for me as a woman. And I think my social life would be much more comfortable.
Have you been married, Shannon?
Once.
Now, how long did that last?
Approximately 3 months. I was very young, and there was at around 15, an attempt at what I considered a marriage, and it was annulled very quickly, but not quite quick enough, according to the parents of the girl involved. And there was a child.
So you're the father of a son. When he gets married and has children, you'll be what?
I'll be the grandmother.
The grandmother?
Right. And that's going to happen, I understand, sometime this year.
At the Wilshire Boulevard Center, the executive director's Don Kilhefner.
It's really important to see the center in a revolutionary context. That for the first time in history, here is an official certified state agency that is providing space, support for men and women to begin that process of self-definition, self-identity, which gay people have never had before in this world. And that's, you know, that's what gay liberation is about. At this point in my life, I'm not heterosexual, I'm not homosexual, I'm gay. Homosexual defines a person in a very narrow sexual context. What I'm talking about and what my sisters and brothers are talking about when we talk about being gay is much, much more than that. We're talking about getting in contact with a much broader range of human possibilities. Gayness is something very, very much different than homosexuality.
Well, you haven't quite explained it to me, I'm afraid. What does it entail?
Well, homosexuality is simply a sex act, sex with kind. And certainly we're proud to say that's true in our lives. But that is a delimited scientific term, and we don't think of ourselves as being solely scientific beings. We think of ourselves being much more.
But you see, I'm not embarrassed to be called heterosexual.
Well, fine.
It's
I'm
a
glad
medical term, is it not?
Well, then, if you feel
Morris Kite, the centre's president.
maybe they should redefine that. You don't seem to feel uncomfortable with it. That's very good.
Well,
So-
why should you feel uncomfortable with homosexuality?
Because it's such a delimiting scientific term wished upon us by non-gay scientists and attempting to delineate us, and only in that part of our lives, and there's so much more.
I think it's important to see how we view things. We're centering on ourselves as gay people. We're discovering things about ourselves. We're experimenting, we're exploring about our own selves, our own identities, our own bodies. At this point in my life, non-gay people bore me.
But heterosexuals might regard a close relationship between two men as repugnant, as unnatural.
Well, you know, I respond to that in terms of my own life. You know, one of the things that I could never understand is I was told in this society that I had to love women differently than I loved men, and that always seemed a little peculiar to me. There are men in my life that I love, and there are women in my life that I love. Why is it that I can become intimate with women, but it's difficult to reach out and show affection for a man? Doesn't that seem peculiar to you, odd? It certainly does to me.
Yes, there's a difference between affection and sexual relationships, presumably.
Sure, but in this society, the only way two men are allowed to relate to each other, the only guidelines, are a good firm handshake or a pat on the back. Doesn't that seem odd to you?
Yes, but there is a dichotomy between a demonstrative affection and sexual acts, surely.
Why are you so preoccupied with sexual acts? That's what confuses me.
I'm not preoccupied, but you're refusing to face up.
No, this is something I've noticed with non-gay people, that the idea of sexual intimacy with another person, especially somebody of the same sex, freaks them out.
What you're saying, if I'm right, is that you're dealing with the hostility by ignoring it, or by saying they have a problem.
No, what I'm doing is saying, yes, I'm aware of objective oppression out there, that there are gay people who lose their jobs, that there's a lot of homophobia in this society, that, you know, I'm aware of all of that.
Please believe us. We do not enjoy marching the streets and saying we're gay and proud. We much prefer to affirm that in our own lifestyle. But if that's necessary, we have done it, we'll do it. If it's necessary, we'll do it again. It's only in this generation that we have to have that kind of affront, that kind of confrontation. We'd like to be rid of it. Actually, this should be a non-issue. The fact of whether one is gay or non-gay ought to be blah. Who should care?
I was reading the figure that 750 homosexuals were arrested each month in Los Angeles alone.
In the Los Angeles city, yes. And that does stem from entrapment, enticement, and often from perjury.
History will determine whether we're winning this struggle or not.
Oh, obviously we're winning it. The arrests were 5,000 a month 20 years ago when I first started in this same community, and now they're 750. That's an enormous reduction percentage-wise. But the 750 wouldn't want to hear me say that, would they?
I'd like to maybe have you deal with the concept that everybody is gay.
They just haven't found out yet.
And that's part of the discovery, the process that people are going through right now. I can remember some of my friends at school who identified themselves as non-gay, and today they're my gay brothers and sisters. I strongly believe that everybody is born gay. There's an attempt by the enforced heterosexualism that's imposed on us to program that out of us, and some people it's successful, some people it isn't.
Are you trying to say that I ought to apologize to you for preferring girls?
I'm not asking you. If you're comfortable where you're at, that's fine. All I'm saying is, why cut off half of human possibility from your experience? If you're happy dealing with only half of your possibilities as a human being, fine.
Now, what about, for example, a marriage, a gay marriage? Now, is this a positive example of a pledge?
Fine. Those who want that should have it. I think it's an exceedingly minor phenomenon.
But do you pretend that there's any permanence in the relation?
Many are. Many of our joinings last forever. We have staff members here at this place who've been joined for many years, and they're exceedingly happy. I think that's very good.
To me, the relationships I have with people are based on the quality of those relationships. Love might be 2 hours, it might be 2 years, it might be a lifetime. But I'm not going to measure love on the basis of numbers of years or longevity. That's a heterosexual custom, which doesn't make sense for heterosexuals. Why should I adopt it? And the fact that I'm also capable of loving many people at one time. I love Morris, I love Julian, I love many people that I'm involved with relationships of different degree of caring and sharing. That's part of the excitement of being gay today. Not feeling that somewhere there is some person that I'm going to have to meet, true love somewhere is waiting for me, and I'll live happily ever after.
And
It's
that love
nonsense.
that Donald and I have, which is non-sexual in its nature, is one of the most supportive relationships I have in this whole world. When I become terribly troubled, when all things are simply overbearing upon me, I can turn to him. And in an hour, 30 minutes, he strokes and heals me. And he does that with me. Now, that is what we talk about gay love. We reach out to one another and we feel better. And then we come back and face the battle all over again. That's gay love, sir.
We are the first generation of gay people who have said, no more. We are oppressed. No longer will we take that. No longer will we allow you to tell us who we are. We will tell you who we are. I wouldn't want to be anything else than gay. I want to make it very clear to people that I'm not heterosexual, that I'm not non-gay. I don't want to be confused with a heterosexual.
I saw a very exciting button last week in New York when I was there for the Christopher Street Liberation Day rally. A brand new button out, which I just love, says, "How dare you presume I'm a heterosexual?"
America's first university course in homosexuality is conducted at the California State College at Long Beach by a professor of sociology, Dr. Barry Dank, who's not gay.
The overwhelming majority, I would say, of homosexual students on a campus such as this do not come out as being homosexual.
A campus is normally very liberal, is it not?
It is normally very liberal. However, there are always significant numbers of illiberal people. They may be concerned about reactions of particular professors. If they live in a dormitory, reactions of people who live on the same floor. And generally, they tend to be very, very discreet, and only telling possibly one or two people that they feel that they can trust.
Would it be true, Doctor, to say then that the homosexuals who come out so publicly then are the exhibitionists?
Oh, exhibitionist, it would be a negative term which I would not want to apply. I would say they would tend to be very idealistic.
Well, I met a very distinguished lawyer the other day at the centre, Wilshire Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And he told me that he was a homosexual, and while I was talking to him, a number of his friends came up and kissed him and so on, and he was plainly homosexual. When I wanted to talk to him in front of the camera, he was aghast at this. Now, I don't quite see how you can have one leg out of the closet. You either come out or you stay in.
He would be cognizant of the fact that if it could be legally shown that he's engaged in homosexual acts, he could be thrown out of the bar. So as far as coming out publicly and stating, I am a homosexual, he won't do that. Many people in Hollywood lead double lives. It's well known they're homosexual, but it's not stated in the newspaper they're homosexual.
Doctor, how do you view the homosexual wedding, the homosexual marriage? Do you think it has some real meaning?
Oh, it definitely can have a real meaning. I have met many homosexual couples, both male and female couples, who have been involved in long-term relationships, 10, 15, 20 years, in which they find the relationship to be mutually rewarding. They share their life together. They have ideal relationships. The one thing that the homosexuals cannot have are children, but they can have, are capable of having all of the rest.
Well, there is a body of medical opinion which regards it as a state in need of treatment, a sickness.
Yes, there is.
Something that's acquired.
Yes, I would agree. It's definitely acquired, but...
oh, really?
However, I should put definitely in quotations based on my own research, which someday may be shown to be incorrect. However, even if it is acquired, does not necessarily mean that it is an illness, because many homosexuals, as adults, are very, very well adjusted, have little or no anxiety. Many of them are much better well adjusted than heterosexuals.
Hollywood attorney Marvin Mitchelson specializes in divorce.
This is a wedding that I recently attended between a naval petty officer and another chap. And it does seem that in most states here there are no laws against people of the same sex marrying, but that the license is normally refused on grounds of tradition.
Well, I would say that there are, this would be non-recognized in any state I know of. In other words, when you say there are no laws, these people can go through a ceremony, these two gentlemen, but if they go to get a divorce, for example, I don't think that they're going to have any courts entertain their case.
I noticed your mind as a lawyer went straight to the question of divorce. Presumably they can make settlements. They can make settlements, can they not? Just as they make wills.
Well, they could, but you see, they wouldn't be enforceable in the court of law if they're in business together and they have a men's clothing shop, for example, and they make an agreement to divide their property. They probably could enforce it if what they're dividing is something that they both made a contribution to and owned, you see. From that standpoint, I think it'd be enforceable, but I think if one agreed to give the other one some alimony, for example, of, let's say, $500 a month, and he didn't pay, I doubt very much whether any court of law would enforce that, because they wouldn't recognize the marriage.
Up to now, it seems that here in the States that public reaction to a homosexual marriage is not only unsympathetic, but quite hostile.
Yes, I think, though, that most people are still hostile toward it, but of course, in the last 5 years, there's been a terrific inroad of acceptance of homosexuality as a way of life.
If one is secure in one's own sexuality, there's no necessity to get uptight about other people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In other words, I think that people who are not insecure do not want to punish these people and do not have this vendetta and this desire to do them, you know, some harm.
But many, it seems, do wish them harm. Arsonists set fire to this first MCC church in Los Angeles and to another gay church at San Francisco. Now, in New Orleans, someone's just fired a gay bar, burning to death 30 of their Louisiana congregation. This church was founded 5 years ago by a young minister from Florida who'd been expelled from his Pentecostal church for leaving his wife and children and admitting he was gay. The Reverend Troy Perry.
We'd had some experiences this last year with people becoming more militant in their actions against the homosexual community in this country, and especially in California.
And what sort of people are these?
Different types of persons, but mainly, believe it or not, groups of people who claim to be Christians. We call them Jesus freaks. And 4 of these young men that we had photographs of went into another small chapel in Hollywood that was ministering to the gay community with bags of human excretion and urine, and broke these in the church, stabbed a young man who got up, all in the name of the love of Jesus Christ. It was just beyond us.
Now, is anyone, do you think, persecuting you today, apart from perhaps a nut group, or perhaps even some of your own who might set fire to a church like that?
Oh, I think the word persecute probably is strong, but I would use it, yes. I think the Los Angeles Police Department, for instance, our chief of police here has a special vendetta against the gay community. Why, I don't know. But he treats us in a special class. In 45 of the 50 states in this country, heterosexuals can still be arrested for sex acts other than the missionary position. You know, if you're a heterosexual couple married with your husband or wife and you're in the middle of intercourse and you fall off the bed, you broke 50 state laws before you hit the floor. That's how bad the sex laws are in this country.
In your book, you wrote, "Nobody likes a homosexual." Now, is this still true?
I don't think so. I think things are radically changing. In some ways, our enemy is the liberal community, which may sound very strange. At least I know where the conservatives are at, and I know exactly what they believe. The liberal will smile to my face and tell me, oh, yes, I'm all for changing the law, etc., and then somehow it never gets done. It's the conspiracy of individuals and people not caring, and still the old stereotypes of you're a faggot, you're a queer, you're a fairy. And our society has because of the attitude of our society, I think that it's led to these kind of things happening.
It's not symptomatic, you think, of a public reaction. It's just a small anti-group?
Yes, I think so. I've seen things happen in the last 5 years. I can talk about homosexuality now on national television. Nobody gets upset. Or not at least the majority of the people. People are open. They want to hear. Even if they don't understand it, they at least, or disagree with you, they'll at least let you give your viewpoint. And that's encouraging in this country. But on the other hand, there'll always be the bigots. I'm sure no matter what we do, no matter what gay people contribute to this society or any other, I'm sure we'll still be queers to a group of the people, and it'll be a strain to put up with our community. Today, I think I know how the blacks must have felt in their revolution. All at once, it's very posh for people to invite me to all the right cocktail parties and introduce me as Reverend Perry, the homosexual minister, you know.
Yes. Does that embarrass you, incidentally?
Yes, it does. At times, I'm fighting and struggling for people to have the right to do whatever they want to do in their bedroom, in private. I don't think it's the government's business or anyone else's business what you happen to do in your bedroom. But I have to tell people what I do, only to get the laws changed. It sounds very, very reversed and backward, but it's the truth. You have to stand up and say, look at me, I'm a homosexual, and I don't have horns. I'm not a child molester. I'm not a gutter creature of some sort. I'm just a human being, just like you are.
Curiously enough, as a group, even though you're organized, you don't have any national heroes, do you, as the Negroes have, or as the Chicanos have, or even as the Puerto Ricans have? I mean, you're the nearest thing to a national gay hero, I would have thought.
That's true. Our movement is so young. You must remember this, though. Unlike other minorities, there's nothing that distinguishes the homosexual from anyone else. He doesn't have a big H or a big G stamped in his forehead. If we all turn lavender tomorrow, I think everybody would get a surprise. But homosexuals are black, they're brown, they're white, they're millionaires, they're paupers, they're ditch diggers, they're presidents, they're whatever. And as a result of that, you don't have, it's easier for a gay person to cross over and be a heterosexual for the day if he has to be. The black can't do that. The black is a black 24 hours a day unless he's very light complected.
Because there are so many of you, you're beginning to feel your political muscle.
Yes, that's correct. As any minority group, I think as you become more organized, all at once you wake up and you realize the system is the system because you permit it to be that way. We won our city council seat from the Hollywood district. If we have a gay ghetto in this city, it's the Hollywood area. And there are a lot of homosexuals who live up in those hills and make no bones about it. We won this year.
Yes, of course, no oppressed minority is ever content until it converts the majority, is it?
No, that's true. And yet we feel you can convert the majority. I think the blacks in this country have converted the majority. And I think that's true, yes. There's no way as a minority group will we ever stop until we at least have people looking at us and saying, okay, what makes you different from anyone else? And saying to them, well, not really anything, other than what we pick for a love object. And notice I didn't say sex object, but love object. And in my case, in my bedroom, I happen to like vanilla ice cream and you like chocolate. That's the difference.
What are your ultimate goals?
Oh, we want to see the laws changed. We want to hear again, educate the public. Politically, we want to certainly see qualified homosexuals run for office and win. I think the time's coming. There were a time in our country when they said blacks could never win, but they did. And it'll happen in this country too, and it'll happen first in California before it happens anywhere else. I'm going to get very emotional. Today, we held memorial services in New Orleans, Louisiana, for our brothers and our sisters. Around 400 people came out for that memorial service. People who were frightened, people who were concerned, people who didn't know what might be happening. We held a little memorial service for the individuals who died in the fire. That was 30% of our congregation there. Bill Larson, the pastor of our church, who died trying to get out of the window. Mitch Mitchell and Horace, his lover. Mitch got out of the fire and got down on the ground and looked around and couldn't find Horace. The police tried to restrain him. And he rushed back in the building and was burned to death with his lover. 2 days later, when someone asked me a question, one of the press, can gay people have meaningful relationships together? I didn't know what to say to that person. Bodies burned so bad that there was nothing left but the bones, and they were seared to the floor. And what little flesh there was left on some of the bodies, the FBI come in, and it was so bad, they had to take the fingertips off the bodies. So bad they had to take the jaws out of all the skulls. How do you like that? The last remaining thing you have that people can identify you by, your teeth. Queers, perverts. Nobody gives a damn. Churches. People. Governments. But you know something? I've learned that people do care. In our community, we reach out and we touch each other, and we love each other, and we know that God cares. I want to tell you something. I want you to remember that those 30 people in New Orleans were human beings before they were anything else. We don't know what happened yet. The police now are saying they don't find any evidence that it was arson, but I've heard that story before. I know good and well that if it had been 50 or even 30 individuals who were prominent in the community in New Orleans, outside of our community, they would be turning that town upside down trying to find out what happened. But I heard the comments that were made: faggot, queer, oh, pervert, child molesters. And you know something? I've learned to hate those kind of labels. But last Sunday night, the last song, ironically, that was sung in that bar was something they did every week. And it went something like this: united we stand, divided we fall, and if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together. Together, you and I. There's nowhere else in the world that I'd rather be than with you, my love. And there's nothing in the world that I'd rather see than your smile, my love. And if the world around you should fall apart, my love, then I'll still be here. And if the going gets too rough along the way, you just call on me, my love. For united we stand, divided we fall.
Divided we fall. And if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together, together, you and I. For united we stand, divided we fall. And if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together.
They may burn us out. They may run us out of town. They might even shoot some of us. They might, try to sew us asunder, arrest us and jealous. But praise God, with God's help, we won't be afraid anymore. Amen.
For united we stand, divided we fall. And if our back should ever be against the wall, we'll be together.
It'll be there. The Lord is my shepherd, and he knows I'm gay. Amen.
It's ironic they should call themselves gay, for theirs is a hard way and not at all carefree.